Hey guys, this is Faster You Fall, brought to you by Fitlab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomax and Kapiti Cycles. If you're a cyclist and you want to go faster, then let's giddy up. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Faster You Fall, brought to you by Fitlab, Kapiti Cycles, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomax. Hey! Oh, things are getting exciting. This week, I've been out yesterday with some savages to ride again. Race 3 of the North Island Team Series course. We're doing a recon. It went pretty hard. I'll tell you what to look for on that course. Hardest course of the series, shortest and hardest. So you know it's going to be pretty hard hitting. I'm going to tell you about the final round of the Kapiti Winter Series we did last week. Sorry it's been so long to get this out. I did record a podcast in the meantime with Andrew from Fitlab. That audio was terrible, so I thought I'd redo it. I'll figure out how to get the audio better on the Skype later on, so you can listen to something better. I'll tell you what happened in the Kapiti Winter Series, who won, who lost, what I learned, what got out of it, and how it went in general. I'm going to tell you about what grinds my gears. I got a newie for you. I'm going to talk about what's coming up, because we're really starting to step into the spring season. Well, let's first talk about how Kapiti Winter Series Race 4 went down. Unbelievably, we had another sparkling day of weather up the Kapiti coast, and I'll take that all day long. 4 races and 4 weekends in a row, 4 beautiful days of weather. Mwah! Thank you, Kapiti. Thank you, Kapiti Cycling Club, for putting on a great series. An A grade. This race was always going to be a little bit of a points battle between me and Dan Walashevsky, riding for Capital Cycles. He has had a great series. We've been battling it out. He's the sprinter. I'm the time trialist, although probably time trials better than me too. So he's just generally the better rider. And me, the scrappy guy trying to take a dig where I can. We were separated on 1 point coming into it, and basically in this race it came down to one thing: could I make any attacks and moves that would go off the front that he would be forced to chase? And I tried. It didn't go so good for me. Came to a sprint, and then on his jet ski, really worked me over in the sprint and took it out. So Dan first, some other guy in second, I can't remember. Ben Barry, coming from a trip overseas, racing the Intelligentsia series over there, like a complete maniac, coming in for a well-deserved second. He's a skinny guy, but he's super strong. And me coming in for a third place. Here's the data. We averaged 40k an hour. We were honking along pretty good. 1 minute, 1 hour 36 for the course, so 3 laps. Average heart rate, 152. Maximum wattage, 1117 watts. I've been staying off the weights a couple of days out, and I notice it gives me a little extra boost. Haven't torn so much fibre. So that's good to know. Don't do heavy weights immediately before a race. It really does affect your max power. Average power 304, EP 331. So if you look down here, pretty stochastic power delivery. I certainly made a lot of reasonably strong attempts, but the level was very high with guys like Ben, Josh Aldridge, Dan, and myself, sort of very weary throughout the race of chasing attacks. There's periods there where the delivery is very stochastic in the middle of the race, and that's where a lot of attacks were going on. They weren't having any of it. Dan was very tactical and made sure that he was in the right position for the sprint. That's all you can do, and my kind of little motto for the last wee while has been double down on your strengths. I wasn't strong enough to ditch him. He doubled down on his strengths in the sprint. Took me good and proper. So as far as the series goes, that left Dan on first for points for the series, me in second, Vaughan Pretorius over in China, racing the university games over there, was not there for round 4, but he still came in third on points because he was being so strong. Vaughan will have a very good spring season. Very strong rider. Has outsprinted Dan and is also good in the break. Super strong. In B grade, they don't have any detailed results I can see yet, but I know Steve O'Keefe, my rider, Steve O'Keefe, winning the series, was certainly in the top 3 for the sprint on the final stage, final race. Taking the series out. 3 months in a wheelchair is not a barrier to this savage. Second in points, Mark Coburn. Third, Toby Fuller. He's really doing well. Had bad luck in the last race with adult disqualification, but still took out third overall in the series, which was amazing. C grade, the unstoppable Rick Parker from second equal, Josh Turnbull and Lee Pownell. I don't know a lot about Rick, but he's obviously had a lot of good races because I've seen that name come up a lot of times in the results there. D grade, Stanley Riddle taking the series from Joe Clarkson and Martin Cronwell. And the teams, well, Fitlab went into this wanting to win the teams. We did not. We were beaten by Elite Lollipops. A very good group of guys, very nice chaps, and they did a great job to take out enough points to pip Fitlab. I don't know the exact points breakdown because it's not available. I think we were in second. Roadworks guys, the Kapiti 45ers up there as well. So congratulations, guys. So, as far as me and my riders go, second in A grade, a first in the third in B grade, second in the points. I'll take that. It's good. A good late winter, midwinter head out. All right. So thank you to the Kapiti Club for putting on a great set of races. Well organised. They probably didn't have as many riders as they want. So I'd say if you are keen for a little bit of winter technical excitement on the flat, come out and give it a go. I will certainly come back. All right, so yesterday we went out and looked at the course for the North Island Series team Trust House Series starting in next month over in the Wairarapa with a couple of my my riders. Steve and Steve went out. That got pretty confusing. So we had to settle for Obi, R2 and Scorchy. We wanted to go out and ride this in a pretty race-like fashion to see how it was going to be. The other guys hadn't ridden it, I had. Here's the main feature. You'll see it's pretty rolling coming out from the start here. Some hills, they're only short climbs. This is probably the most pronounced, and on the way back it's quite steep. I may as well look at it on the way back here. The final climb before you descend, coming back into Martinborough. It's this one here, putting out 380 watts or so EP 204, so relatively short climb, quite steep and going to be quite important. The big climb is this one, Hinakura Windmill Climb, I think it's called, or something like that. Now take a look at this. I got second in the KOM stakes by about 30 seconds to a guy. If you look at the length of that, 12 minutes and 45 seconds, 4.9. So best part of a 5k climb there at just under an average of 5 watts per kilo. That's pretty strong, and that's going to be an important part of this race, because even if people do hold on over that first set of more rolling climbs, you're going to have the big climb, the valley, and then coming back over these, not only the big climb, but the other ones, which and they're steeper the other way around. So it's kind of a course that starts hard, and because of the topography, almost just keeps getting harder. That is going to be very selective, that climb. It's an FTP climb, it's over 10 minutes. You will need to have a good power to weight for that. The average grade, well, the average is 5.2, but a lot of it here, if I zoom in to look at a bit which is maybe like very consistent power and a little steeper, we're talking grades of about 10, just over 10% there, which is pretty strong. You're going to need to stay with the front selection in elite, 5+ watts per kilo, and maybe master 1, 5 watts per kilo, master 2, 4.5 watts per kilo, something like that, depending on your gross wattage for this climb to stay in the front selection. If you don't, be a little careful on the descent. It's not actually as steep as it looks. It's not as steep as it looks at all, really, but it's quite sort of sweeping. You can get quite fast. I think I mentioned it the last time I reconned this course. Don't overdo it. It can be gusty up there and in spring. Likely to have gusty winds. You might actually want to think about running your 202s or your box section wheels if it is gusty, because that will actually be faster coming down the descent than really being on the brakes and being defensive if you're getting blown about a bit on your 808s. So down the valley, very fast. We hit it pretty hard down here. Down to the turnaround, we must have had an average speed, around about 40 to 41, even up to 43k an hour there for a while. It will be very fast. There's a turnaround where you hit the gravel that goes to Tora, and you come back up the same way. This is the side of the hill that's not as steep. It's at my intensity yesterday at 350 watts EP, 14 minutes, so it's longer but less steep on that side. Doesn't feel like it lasts very long. Down this fast, the steep side of the hill, it can be very fast again if it's gusty. Be super careful. It's kind of some of it's shaded and it's got pine needles and stuff, and it's not really technical, but it's fast. I don't get it wrong. Down over this kind of rolling section here into Martinborough, 20 minutes or so at race speed with these shorter, sharper climbs. That little shark tooth there, that's your key. You want to be in the selection for that. It's going to come very fast down here. The wind's right. This section is going to be super fast. Coming in towards the gravel shooting butts circuit. The gravel, when we rode it yesterday, was in really good nick. It was almost like it had rained a lot, so the gravel had kind of pressed in, and it was almost like riding more on sort of dirt, like gravelly dirt, which was good. When that hasn't been so rainy, the gravel's kind of thicker on the sides and the middle. It's harder. So depending, you kind of want to probably get to the front on that sector, because unless they grade it or something, there is some nasty little potholes developing there. You want to be at the front, because if you can't really see where you're going and you're on someone's wheel, which you want to be this late in the race, you could easily head into a hole. So be careful with that. You may even want to run, sounds crazy, but even like bigger tires, maybe a little lower pressure. If there is holes, it can be pretty rough. You can hit them pretty hard and it really upsets your rhythm. You may also want to drill something all like crossing over little chunks of gravel and stuff to make sure you're confident if you do need to go around someone, you've got the backhanding skills on the gravel to do it. Then it's a very quick circuit, repeating this part down to the main road, and as I have it in the instructions at the moment, right onto the main road, and maybe, it's hard to know exactly where the finish is, but there's a sign there about 500 from that final turn. I would be very near the front on that, and if the wind is a tailwind, really honking it out of there You probably don't want on your wheel, but if you're going to go, you probably just want to go. So that will be a decisive race. That climb will sort out who has genuine climbing ability from the people that don't. And even if you do, you will need some pretty strong raw power over these last rollers and some good endurance. Only, 77, 78 Ks or so, but a brutal little course. So there's a lot of fun things coming out, guys. That is probably the last course recon I'll have a chance to do between now and the start of the North Island series, because racing other races start more in earnest next weekend. And on that segue, the next race next weekend, the season opener for Wellington Masters Cycling Club starts 3 laps of Liverton Road, I think it is, just a short little 18k individual time trial. I have some new weaponry for that. As long as it's not too windy, I'll have a Zip sub 9 disc on there. I've ridden once in anger and it seemed fast. And I think one of the best things is the noise. First time you ride a disc, you have this weird thing where you look around and you can't quite tell where there's this kind of rumbling jet noise coming from. So, oh wow, it's my tyre, it's my wheel. So that's good. I'll be excited to see how that goes on that short little 18k individual time trial season opener for the club. The club, I'm a member of Wellington Masters Cycling Club. Always good at racing every week, if not more. Great variety of handicap, graded, time trial, hill climbs. In fact, including one interesting one this year, it looks new, where there's a double time trial, a hill climb followed by an individual flat time trial at an Upper Hutt. I think that's later on, maybe in November. So if you're over 35, you can enter any of those races, come along. If you're under, you can still do time trials, including hill climbs. So come along if you want to have a look at the Wellington Masters Cycling Club website. Look at their calendar. It's out now. Think of some races to do. They're going to be good fun. So that's what's next for me. I'd like to do well in that, and I'd like to do well in time trials this year again. That's why I'm sitting here. You can't see me, but I'm in full cockroach position. Been working on my hand position. Figure that's going to get me another half a watt maybe. I'm pretty excited about that. And I can pedal without my back hurting excruciatingly, which is another plus. So I'm going to take that and run with it. Last thing today, guys, grinds my gears. It grinds my gears on 2 levels. Health, I won't say health, I'll say nutrition Nazis who aren't that well informed. I don't mind if you're a nutrition Nazi and you have got your science dialed down. And dialed to the degree that you can explain it to a 10-year-old. They always say that if you really know what you're talking about, you should be able to explain it in very simple terms that you can reason out as a very young person. Same thing I think should apply to anyone who wants to rant about things that can be quite important for your health. Usually people have an idea in their mind about some new form of nutrition or nutritional advice that's going to be their secret weapon. And they don't have to do any more training, or they don't have to train any better, and they think they're going to do so much better. Well, here's an interesting one. It grinds my gears on 2 levels. Sugar. Now, I don't claim to be some genius about this, but a lot of people do claim, annoyingly, a lot of middle-aged housewives do claim that by cutting sugar out of their diet, they lose weight and feel better. Now, that is unfortunately not an accurate scientific thing to say. I mean, sugar, what does that mean? At what point are we referring to sucrose or fructose, or what type of short-chain carbohydrate are we referring to? Of course they don't know. Of course they're thinking about not eating handfuls of lollies. And of course, if you're not having 7 bowls of ice cream after dinner and eating a handful of jet planes you're going to feel better and lose weight. You moron. But there is more to it. It's kind of like a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. And the thing that's to it is the insulin response. Again, a disclaimer, not an expert. My understanding is by ingesting these short chain carbohydrates, your insulin response for your pancreas, assuming you're normally functioning, not diabetic, all those caveats, is going to be modified in such a way that your hunger response will be more rapid. So by consuming low glycemic index or things like fats, proteins, things that are likely to satiate you for longer, they will satiate you for longer, your insulin response is reduced, your hunger response is not so high, and I suspect that's kind of what's going on. It's no magic, it's just your insulin response is modified, that you're less hungry, and I've been trying it out. Now, not to any great degree, and I always kind of hated this when people want to go on a slightly different run. When people want to sort of go half into something, you know, I'm trying out this new diet, but it sort of gets completely nuked by the fact that they're, you know, allowed to have 10% of the thing that they're not supposed to have. Well, what? I don't know, what's the science? Does that 10% totally negate the other 90%? Like, does it produce a hormonal or other response in the body that's going to negate the gains from the other? Like, I just don't know. But completely going against my own common sense and advice, I've been doing a half-assed version of this kind of like less carb, certainly less sugar, i.e. simple carbohydrates, fructose and sucrose namely, mostly sucrose, mostly from jet planes, and in my case ice cream, and switching out for things like peanut butter and butter on some very thin toast in the morning. So yeah, I get it. Obviously in the toast there is a number of carbohydrate, long and short chain carbohydrates contained in it, but it's thinner, there's less of it. Certainly the volume is less. Well, certainly the caloric volume from that food stuff is reduced by reducing the size of the toast. But most of the calories from that are coming from the fat from the peanut butter and the butter. And I am an eater. Now I'll tell you, 3 slices of thin bread with a bit of peanut butter and butter, it sounds ridiculous. It sounds like what I would have. It's not even a snack. It's like a pre-snack snack. However, despite the ludicrous mouse-like quantities I'm referring to, I can last till lunchtime with a training ride. It's amazing. I don't know what's going on, and I suspect I need the calories, but I just don't have so much of a hunger response. You know, and again, I might just tweak all of my meals, so not ingesting a handful of lollies after a ride like I used to do, and going for a warmed up kebab in the microwave from last night's dinner, you know, shish kebab with meat instead. Well, I've got to tell you, I've lost 1 kilo in a week, which who knows what that's from. I mean, I weigh myself pretty religiously with the same protocols. Whether there's some water mass that's lost, I don't know. My electronic scales say my fat percentage fallen just under 1%, which would be in line with the kilo. But who knows whether that's an algorithmic thing in the scales software, so I don't know. I know I feel better, I'm eating less. Energy and all that, it's probably about the same. I don't feel quite so stodgy. And and there is that weight, so I'll keep on it, I'll keep reporting on it. Now, I know the start of the thing grind my gears. It grinds my gears when people don't really do the research and they're kind of on to something. And in this case, I think it's one of those things, they're kind of onto something. You know, your average suburban housewife who claims they never have sugar, but then has a whole bunch of, milk in their coffee and lactose, doesn't know diddly, but they're kind of onto something. They kind of know they're feeling better, they're just not really sure why. So I'm going to continue with this idea. I'm going to keep doing it in this half-assed fashion, because doing anything like this by cutting out 100% of some type of dietary piece is never going to happen and isn't practical or realistic. But it seems to have started on the positive note. So I'll leave it there. Sugar, part 2 coming up. Time trial on the weekend. Look forward to digging into some big old plate of pain. As always, it's brought to you by Fitlab. Tail Nutrition by Max and Capital Cycles. If you would like a training plan from me, or lactate testing, we're the only ones that do, you can call me. Numbers on the website, fitlab.co.nz. You can email me, steve@fitlab.co.nz, or come and see me at the next race. We'll have a good old chat. See you soon, guys. Thanks for watching / listening to Fast to You Full, brought to you by Fitlab, Capital Cycles, Tailwind Nutrition and Biomaxa. If you'd like to get in touch for a coaching program or testing, you can get hold of me, steve@fitlab.co.nz, or go to fitlab.co.nz. Talk soon, guys.